I'm still figuring it out, but I do genuinely believe that if you're going to like participate in the game as we speak, like I still think that story, identity, purpose, intention, I do think that matters, especially now with like generative music, right? Like anyone can spin up a track, put it up, upload it. I got stuff coming up on my feed, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm not like threatened by it or bothered by it because I'm just like, what's the story? What's the purpose? What's the intention? The fact that you can just do that, or like, is there more to it, right? So I think things are genuinely headed towards a more, yes, direct to fan, but I again, you talked about it earlier, like these products are designed to just, they're very stripped down, very simple. There's no connection. There's like I don't really feel the emotion to it. And I think that's where they're kind of lacking. So it feels like the DSPs in a way. But I think we're gonna see more artists developing and designing their own apps, their own experiences, microsites, like kind of going back, right? I always said like everything that we kind of lost during the streaming era is making a comeback.
I know you as Excellencia, and the first question I always ask people is like, how do you describe yourself? Because I think like one of the things that we're doing a lot is talking about different kind of career models, artists that are doing things differently, and you're one of those people. So, how do you describe yourself?
Man, so yeah, so I went from that transformation of Excelencia to La X. On socials, I'm still showing up as Excelencia on some of the platforms, La X. And I think people are just, they still call me Excelencia, or they don't even know I literally changed my name. They thought it was like figuratively, like they thought
Oh,
it was just an era, concept, and album or anything like that, man. But yeah, I definitely consider myself an artist first, entrepreneur second. I was born in Puerto Rico, half Cuban, so I'm like that bicultural kid that then moved to the States. So I have influence from like all these different cultures all in one. And that really explains my identity and my sound as well. And a lot of my decision making and how I kind of move about not only creation, but how I essentially showcase my work, I would say.
well, we met through experimenting with blockchain and crypto stuff a long time ago, and you were one of the people that was one like quite far ahead of me, but also you're still kind of like you've got your feet in the water a little bit, or you still got your toes in the water in that world. Um, Maybe do you want to just tell me a little bit about why you got into crypto?
Yeah, so like it's funny because like even though I would be ahead, I don't think it really mattered because like during let's say the 2020 2021 thing, it was a lot of new people. And those were the people that were like, really excited about it and getting into it. I was as well, right? But I think that me coming from before, I saw things a little differently. So I was kind of cautious, but I was excited because I was already kind of like looking into a lot of the things that started moving. But what really got me in, I want to say it was like 2016. I was building up my label. I was building up publishing. I was really learning the music business. And I randomly, literally started looking for things that were like new or exciting. Like, what does the future of this potentially look like? And that's like when I came across like blockchain for music or for the music supply chain or, at the time, royalties and smart contracts and like using it as a database and all these different things. And how it could be used in music publishing more than anything. It was more about that than it was about selling NFTs or collectibles and stuff. So that was interesting at the time. That's really what got me in. That was like late 2016. Then 2017, there was like a crypto run, and that was like when Bitcoin kind of went mainstream for the first time and all that stuff. But that's also when I discovered like more about Bitcoin and more about Ethereum and people building applications on top of Ethereum. And that's the first time I discovered decentralization because, I'm not really into all these different things, but I saw that. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm kind of into that. Like I can see that kind of working for a record label or something that I'm trying to build because I'm an artist, but I also have my label. I support writers, producers. I help them kind of onboard to the music industry. And so like all of that was exciting to me at the time. And, 2018, like, let's say when the crash happened, then I still saw some people like RAC or Grammatic, and they were still using the tools. They were still fundraising or building a platform or Yujo Music was doing the whole badges thing, the collectibles thing, which is funny because I was actually going to upload a song there. But like, because I was like reggaeton, everything was like ambient and electronic. And I'm like, I don't really fit in. Like, this is going to be weird. Like Like that's how I thought about it, to be honest. And there was like a fee at the time. I think you had to pay like $20 or something in ETH. For me, like $20, that was like gas money for the week, right? So I was like, man, I already distributed this song on like CD Baby or something, and like I gotta pay another 20 to put it on this platform. Like I wasn't thinking about like I'm gonna be a pioneer or like no, I was just excited about trying new things or using new things, getting my music heard and or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And then the rest was just like going through the 2020, 2021, 2022 phase of just like all these new platforms and new models coming up. It felt really natural for me to try it. You know what I mean? Like it was, I'm like, let me try this out. When I saw catalog, I applied quickly, right? I already had my wallet. I was already onboarded. So I was able to kind of transition smoother, I guess, like I understood private keys. I understood, protecting that, like not clicking random shit. Like all these different things I was already onboarded. So for me it was quicker, smoother to just try the thing, right? So that's how I got into it.
There's so much of this language that most people watching this aren't going to understand, right? Really, just like the terminology of that world. But I think one of the things that was most exciting to me was that I just met a bunch of music artists that were trying new stuff, right? Or had the appetite to really like go deep and experiment. At the moment, your current rollout is the Maravilla album. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Do you want to explain this project? 'Cause I love this project so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. So I've been doing a series of like these albums. So I did Estrella, that was 2014. And then this is like the second one in like this trilogy concept idea that I had. And basically for each album, I wanted to like build a world around it. So I wanted to build an app. I wanted to do something IRL, whether that's a listening party, a pop up, a showcase. The app, we built it to basically be the home for the album. So fans, collectors, people can go on, they can listen, they can see videos, they can interact, they can explore. So that's where we came up with the concept of like the map or the world. And we kept it simple on purpose. Like I didn't want to go too crazy, like 3D interactive and stuff like that. Like that's definitely in the plans, but I kind of wanted something where when you land on it, you can kind of just understand what's happening. And that was really the vision for it. Like I wanted to world build. I wanted to have something digital, but then something physical. The album just came out actually Friday, so the 20th. I actually put out the entire album, and now we're everywhere. All the platforms and stuff like that. But then the music is available on the thing that we built. And again, like part of the rollout, the idea was, okay, let me yeah, do the singles, kind of play the traditional stuff, but the goal is now that I release, kind of go harder post release versus pre. But yeah, it's been fun, like to try new things and not have that expectation of like, okay, the goal here is to sell X amount, right? Or like whatever. Like I was like, no, this is what I really would do if I had X amount of funding or whatever it was. Like that's how I like to think about it. So yeah, it's like it's this continuation of rolling out this music, these albums, and keep growing the story, keep growing the world. I'm also exploring character IP. I haven't really announced that or launched it or fully gone all in, but it's in development. It's part of the rollout. So yeah, I kind of see it like I did that piece on Substack of kind of building like that hub and spoke model, where you kind of have be the artist at the center, or it could be a song, or it could be an album at the center, and then you start kind of building things out. In other words, like the spokes, right? So that's kind of the mental model that I use for it. I use theme parks as a mental model. Um, I'm in Orlando. Disney World is here. Universal, all of the theme parks are here. I've been. They're immersive. They're interactive. Like, yeah, people are spending their money and they're buying random stuff and all this other stuff, and they're trying to upcharge you, upsell you all the time. But like the idea, the creativity of it is what really excites me, and that's kind of I used that for inspiration. I used world building stuff for inspiration, kind of combining all of that. And I think I want to use Maravilla as a blueprint for the next thing, right? But improve upon it, take learnings from it, all that stuff.
I mean, it's so ahead of the curve, right? I mean, we can't. I will actually add some visuals to this when I put it online, but
Cool, cool, yeah.
essentially, you can navigate your way through the space, visiting like different parts of it, right? Like listening to different things, collecting different things, and it evolves over time, right? So you're like building on that world, you're adding to it over time, and it's interesting now that that's such a it's a more common idea, right? There's a lot of people building kind of like super fan apps.
Right.
And I guess like there's like a commercialization or there's like a I guess like a rush of like companies and startups and consultants trying to do this stuff. Or like, I think one of the things that I've been really interested in is how like artists that don't have these huge budgets and don't have these huge fan bases make these things work, not only like build them, but like what it's actually like. What's the experience like of actually doing it? So it'd be cool. It's a bright question. Where did your fan base live? Like where do you like connect with people most for your fans or like
Yes.
listeners or like audience or whatever you want to call them?
So for me, it's 2 places. It's Instagram and WhatsApp. And then from time to time, YouTube just through comments and stuff like that. But like really, it's Instagram, and it's WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is big in Latin America. And I did a back in the day, well, a couple years ago, I had the group chat on there, and people were kind of like, "What? Like a group chat in WhatsApp, like a fan club type of thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like this is where things are headed or things are going." And then like soon after, they launched what is it, channels or something like community channels where the fans can only, like, react, they can't really it's not like a group chat, right? So just love stuff, right? So, I'm like, "Okay, that's a nice touch because some artists, like, they just can't keep up with, like, responding to everyone, but they can update people and keep them going." It's interesting, I still think for me, I'm still finding that. I'm still building that out, um, you know, because there's so many platforms now, everything's fragmented, so you're still trying to lock in and figure it out. And I've gotten advice before of, like, go all in on that one single platform. But I feel like there's so many you can go kind of 360 omni-channel with it and kind of like you kinda spreading yourself out a lot, but you just
Do you
don't
feel
know.
like you've got a place to bring people? Because I kind of feel like I sometimes am everywhere, but what I do find is that I don't, it like means maybe it reduces the amount of chance you have of blowing up everywhere. But what I do find is that I'm constantly like, people are kind of tripping in. Like someone jumped in the Discord today who had just heard a song for the first time on Spotify, and I've just started a Discord, and that was wild to me, right? Because I was like, you listened on Spotify, so then you've gone to the artist, you've clicked on the song, you've gone go to artist, which no one does, and then you must have either like gone to Instagram or gone to just like Googled, but the decision was actually like wasn't really following. It was like they saw the Discord and they jumped to the Discord and introduced themselves. And again,
I
like a
love
lot of people were like, "Do you really need a Discord? Like, you've got Telegram, you've got WhatsApp, you've got an Instagram chat." But it just
right, right.
shows, right, that there's like different places for different people. How many people are in your your WhatsApp?
The WhatsApp, there's like 100, I wanna say.
Yeah. Do
It
you
was
have
like
like a
it was like 60 for a long time, and then it climbed up to 100. Instagram, I get a lot of requests too, like so it's the same thing, right? They found me on Spotify, and they actually take the time to make their way to the Instagram to leave a comment or send a message. I think that's pretty powerful. I hate that it's so much friction to do that. But again, like if they're doing it, that's a good sign. That's kind of the person you want to talk to. You want to ask them like, "What do you think about the album?" or what was your favorite song?" Like that's the person that's worth asking that. So but that's still a challenge. I feel like I'm still figuring that out. Even when I just put out the album Friday, and I haven't really like I'm letting kind of people decide where they want to go listen, where they want to go, how they want to interact right now. Just because I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket or go all hard on like to one and kind of make them feel like this is it, like I don't know, it's weird. Um how that
where's is the album up on the site on the on the world that you
Yeah,
built?
yeah. So I
Yeah.
actually put the whole thing on there.
And then,
So
but
it's
also you're like releasing like a normal release strategy, doing like Spotify, YouTube. You're doing like singles rollouts. You putting the whole thing out. Like, how do those? I'm still always trying to figure this out. But like, how are you doing that? What's your
I love
approach
it,
to
yeah.
like marrying
So I
those two
actually
worlds?
did so this was my idea, there's this whole debate about singles versus EPs versus albums. For me, I'm decided that I wanna do an album, so what I did was, I did about 6 or 7 singles before the full album, and I left 6 or 7 on the actual album, so it feels more like an EP once it comes out. So I've already dropped music, comes out, it's a little more, like, doable. Even then, like, if someone just discovered me, then they have 14 new ones, so it's gonna be, it's kinda hit or miss. But that was my thinking doing it.
How much do
Um,
you prioritize going to like the world that you built, or just letting people like interact on a shallow level? Are you like in your group when you're announcing things? Are you like, come and listen on the site, come and be a part of the world?
that's what
Yeah,
I did. I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "Oh, by the way, if you want a sneak peek, like, it's on here first," right? So that's what I was doing. Or, like, when you go to the site, there's an extra song, like a bonus track. So maybe that'll drive people to say, like, "Oh, like, I wanna hear that one." Like, it's like a rap, like a freestyle or something. So I'll do things like that. Yeah, it was interesting because I kind of built it out, that space. I built it out so anyone can go, but then there was that sort of center planet where you can go in and collect, and on the back end, it's an NFT, right? It's a collectible. And it was either a video, a song, or just something else. So it's kind of built with on chain in mind. But as you've seen, like sentiment, market, everything just kind of like crashed, went down. They're sort of moving on from creators, focusing more on the finance, on the trading side of things. So that kind of turned me off. So I haven't been really driving people there. But at the same time, I built it out as a space where anyone can go and just explore, check it out, subscribe, listen to music, watch the videos. So it's almost like a micro site, right? So I didn't want it to only be, you know, uh, blockchain or crypto based like the first one, which I don't regret because that one did well. Like that one, the timing, the way I aligned it, the way we built it, it made sense. It was crypto only, and we didn't even have like credit card option or a way to abstract and not have to have a wallet and buy with crypto or support with crypto. Whereas this one, we kind of built it out as a bigger space. But yeah, I don't know if that answered the the rollout question,
And
but
you're working with like a designer, a developer, like what is the world that like makes up
yeah.
like the
So
team that you're building this stuff with?
so it was designer first, developer second, and now with all of the vibe coding, what Sweetman did was, I now own the project, so I can go ahead and contribute to it at any time, and I can push any updates to the project and stuff like that. So he kind of handed the keys over to me.
Are you doing
And
that through like Cursor or like
yeah,
what do you use?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using Cursor, yeah, for that.
What
So
are your like for your world for like as an artist, like what are the tools that you're using then?
man, that's a good question. I would like for the site specifically, there was a
Just
lot
for
of
like,
like,
I guess like for everything, right? Like it's a lot of thing I'm thinking about, like this idea of like what your creative stack is and how
yeah,
that is just like, I guess it's like growing and growing, but also supposedly these tools are going to do more for us, right? Like,
right, 100%, yeah. So definitely, I'm using GPT, I'm using Claude, I'm using Cursor. At one point, I was using V0 for just like coming up with like UI ideas, design stuff. I would grab that, then throw it into Cursor, and then do more of the technical stuff, creations, embeds, all that stuff. It just felt better in Cursor. And then within Cursor, I have like a Codex extension, and then I have a Claude extension. And then I kind of like alternate between the two. If I reach a limit on one, I move on to the next one, and I tell her like, "Hey, like this thing crapped out on me. Like, let's keep going," or or whatever it is. So I've been doing that. I use Laylo for like automation, tech stuff, messaging.
I find
Uh,
that gets quite wild expensive though, quickly, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. I had to kind of like make a decision, like, okay, is this worth it for me right now, or what am
yeah.
I using? But at the same time, I'm like, the cost that I'm putting into it is also like an experiment to see.
What, yeah, for real.
So it's
I
like
mean, yeah.
I churn a lot, basically.
I
So
can relate to that because that's how some people are like, why are you paying for both those things? And I'm like, oh well, I use different things for different stuff, right? And I'm still trying to work out what's best for me. But for like Laylo or something, right? Like it gets wildly expensive quickly, like hundreds of dollars a month, right? Like
I
what
haven't reached that, but
you haven't used that, right? Yeah, but what do you use it for then? Announcements, like SMS announcements? Is that what you're
use it
using
for
it for?
they have the Instagram integration where they comment and it messages them. And people
Okay,
can like join the list or subscribe to you or whatnot. And
okay,
then they
cool.
get SMS. Actually, I have a pretty big mailing list. It's like 10,000 people. So that's where I was like, nah, I can't do that. So I have like a certain like group of fans and people that support me on the Laylo currently, and that kind of kept the cost down. And it's more people that would, I think, more super fan base ish, it's as opposed to just sending out mass emails or texts and stuff like that. Like that's where it can get kind of crazy. But there's that. I mean,
How do you like foster those relationships? I think like people that will go to the lengths to actually listen to this will probably be a mix, right? There'll be a few artists, there'll be a few industry people. There never seem that I always find at the moment that there's always this kind of like you need to build community, like buzzword things. You need to like direct to fan relationships, and there's always someone on stage being like, you've got to create a funnel. Don't do
right,
all these things that everyone else is telling you. This is the way you've got to do it. And then they give an example, right? But the example is always somebody who's got a really big fan base that's already active that they didn't build, right?
right.
So
Well, it's
it's
funny.
like,
they're well funded and well.
they're well funded, or like there's just like an engaged audience already, right? That you can build on with. But for you, like practically, what are the different variations of what? I hate the word fan funnel, right? But what are the different variations that happen in your world where over the years, I guess, that have been like a listener coming through to being like a supporter or someone who's more engaged?
Man, I think a lot of that is overrated. I genuinely think that you have to go out there, put yourself out there, like put the songs out there, the music, the previews, the demos, the reference tracks on socials or whatever it may be. Do it your way, like do it authentic to you, and like that's really the way. Like get out there, and even like IRL, like we did a pop up listening party here in Orlando, and we capped it out. It was like 60 people came through. That was the max. We sold out the merch. People listened to the album in person. They got on. I used Partyful, then they became a part of what I'm building. There were friends, and then there were friends of friends that came. It was short notice. It was kind of like pop up experiment type of thing, and I got real time feedback. Like I saw people's reactions to the music. Based
Mhm.
on that, I was actually able to kind of like adjust the track list for the album, right? Something I enjoy doing, and then that helped, right? Or like I'm like, oh, okay, they really like this one. Like I should put this out as a single, like so I did things like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
based on that moment. And again, I think those people they have a different relationship with me now than someone that just saw a video on Instagram and they liked it, commented, then they wrote me a message, okay, cool, that's great. But like that person that experienced the project live before it came out, I think that's also a really good kind of relationship to have. And it's something I want to do more and more. Like I think there's a future where if I get the chance to tour, there could be these sort of side quests, like yeah, meet and greets, but like there could be like a post-show thing that's a little deeper, a little more intimate, or a pre-show thing where it's more than just take a picture with me, we'll chat it up for a few minutes. Like, no, it could be an event, I think, right? You're already there, might as well make it happen. I think there's things like that that can happen. But I think this whole like funnel thing, like yes, but at what is it? The bottom or the bottom is discovery. So it's like just a bunch of people just piling in or
Yeah, yeah.
something, like the billboard approach to it of just like seeing. I think like there's some truth to that. Like if you had the chance to do that, I think that's good signal because then whatever the 1,000 people, 1% will listen and convert and become a fan or whatever, and they'll stay updated with what you're doing. Um, I think there's a lot of pressure for artists to put out a lot of shit, but I don't see anything wrong with it as long as you're true to yourself, it's authentic. Like right now, I want to put out more music. Like that's where my mindset is at. I want to put out everything. Like I'm sitting on so much stuff. I'm like, what's the point? And I've done it in the past where I've done weekly releases, weekly drops. Bro, people love it and I love it because it keeps me on my toes and I'm excited and I know not every song is going to be the thing, but that's regardless, I think, right? I don't think because I'm dropping weekly or monthly or every 2 weeks, that's not going to change that, right? That's not going to change how people react or respond to the music or connect with it. So I think it's about finding your way, really. I think there's good advice, good suggestions, but I think now they're like you have to format and it has to be the same video 20 times on your feed so people can get used to it. Like if that works for you, then it works. So I hear this, I see all this branding and the colors, and you got to do all this shit. But at the end of the day, I think it's what works for you. I know it sounds cliche, but I genuinely believe it, and you gotta put yourself out there somehow, some way, like, no shame.
It's funny because you say a lot of that stuff, but you were like one of the first people um, who was talking about being like direct to fan model, right? Like in terms of like 5 years ago, right? Even when we first meeting, you were just like, oh, I'm not really worried about that stuff because what I'm doing is just like trying to focus on the people that really want to connect, and I'm connecting with them directly, and I'm building all these ways for them to support the project that I do. And at the time, that was super high friction because some of that was crypto, right? Like some of that was like introducing people to a whole new technology they didn't understand that has a terrible reputation, and really like negative culture around it. Or at least that's the perception, right? I know there are pockets where that's not the case. So where do you feel like things are going next for you? Like, what are you interested in? What comes next?
Man, like, I still believe that, like I'm still figuring it out, but I do genuinely believe that if you're going to like participate in the game as we speak, like I still think that story, identity, purpose, intention, I do think that matters, especially now with like generative music, right? Like anyone can spin up a track, put it up, upload it. I got stuff coming up on my feed, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm not like threatened by it or bothered by it because I'm just like, what's the story? What's the purpose? What's the intention? The fact that you can just do that, or like, is there more to it, right? So I think things are genuinely headed towards a more, yes, direct to fan, but I again, we you talked about it earlier, like these products are designed to just they're very stripped down, very simple. There's no connection. Like I don't really feel the emotion to it. And I think that's where they're kind of lacking. So it feels like the DSPs in a way, where like you can only do a few things, which is fine. Okay, keep it simple, dumb it down. But I think we're gonna see more artists developing and designing their own apps, their own experiences, microsites, like kind of going back, right? I always said like everything that we kind of lost during the streaming era is making a comeback. And I think that's a
Yeah.
good kind of approach and thinking to it. And people are like, streaming's not going anywhere and no one's gonna stop doing it. Like that's fine. No one's really saying that. I think they just like if you give a take on direct to fan or world building, people think automatically that you're saying that Spotify's gonna collapse and the stock is gonna crash and it's all over. Like no, like that's not what we're trying to say. Like I think streaming is low friction right now. You press a button, you pay a subscription, it sends it out, it's there within 3 to 5 days. That's why most artists are not growing on these platforms, right? It's also, it's also very concentrated and you gotta have a lot going on for you to get shit going on those platforms, a lot. And so I think that those higher friction things may convert better, may build more lasting, relationships or connections with fans and stuff like that. So I'm always thinking in different things, right? Like I have no, it's this, no absolutes. Like I'm not like this is the thing. I think it's a variety of things. I think things align, even with my album release. Like when I think about an album release, I think about aligning, coordination, making multiple things happen simultaneously in a way, right? Like not to burn out, not to throw everything, all at once, but there's a lot of things happening that kind of make the thing do well or so to speak. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
a hard, like you're constantly juggling, right? And I think like being fluid and being able to respond is like a big part of it. I like when I started my current project, I had this idea of building this site where people could go and create their own versions of their songs and it would like place you in it. And it took me a while to like code it and make it working. When I got it working, I was like, yes, I fucking nailed this. But actually now it's like it led to an event, it led to these other concepts, and now they're coming first. And it's almost like it doesn't make the thing that I thought was the project is now going to be like an afterthought that's a fun thing for people to do, like once the song's out. And I made it in like November. And now I'm looking at probably not sharing it with the world till June
Okay,
because it's
okay.
just like there's only so much you can talk about at once, right? This is how I feel anyway. Is it like whatever you put out in the world, you have to talk about it so many times to get people to connect with it that I'm learning to try and focus in on things and be more, I guess like you say, I've got like this kind of chat group community and Discord where I can test things on the fly and give things to people. But as far as like the wider world's concerned, um, I have to be able to talk about it multiple times, and it takes ages to
Yeah,
get through to people, right?
yeah. And I
Yeah,
think I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and then I think about it, is it worth me continuing to push or talk about it? And if it is, then I'll go ahead and do it. I might be downstairs and I get motivated and I come up here and I do a little video, even if it's just for the stories. Like I'm like, I don't have anything to lose. I believe in the project. Why not take out a few minutes to go and share, hey, yeah, it's on streaming platforms, but if you want to support me further, like you could also do this, without kind of that sales pressure thing, right? Like a good example lately for us, I've been doing the sauces and we've been doing markets.
okay.
And
Wait, whoa. Just tell me, don't jump into that. Tell me because like no one knows about this that's listening,
yeah,
right? So
okay, okay. No,
explain that. Go on.
it just came to mind because it's like I feel like part of why.
You explain that you were actually making your own hot sauce, I think would be a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
place to
So yeah,
start.
so I've been building
Yeah.
a sauce brand, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've been wanting to do something in food for a long time, and I finally was able to make it happen. I ended up at sauces. That wasn't the original idea, but that was in the works for 2 years, and we launched. It went live. We're having a lot of fun with it. Everything's flowing. It's natural. You know, it's genuine. And so, like, I think part of the reason why it's doing well, it's all my experiences in music, actually. I feel like that's my edge. Like, that's really my edge is the fact that I'm like, bro, I've been in music, which is hard as hell to sell, to convert, to like make the thing move, to make the thing happen. Now I'm here and I'm like, it's not easier, but I'm like, this is semi easy compared to music. Like, so I'm like having a fun time. But my point to what I said was, we're not at the markets like hard selling people trying to sell you. Like I'm not out there like walking around and like you want a sample and you want like no, we're letting people kind of like come to us, check us out, try the product. If they like it, amazing. If they buy, incredible. Like, you know, and they've been supporting and they've been genuinely you know, they like it, and then the feedback, everything's been, you know, really, really cool. So again, like just taking all those learnings, I'm able to kind of like convert things and like they translate, right? I'm getting ideas from there into music and from music, you know, kind of like the business of music, I would say. Um, and socials and digital and all that stuff, just kind of like they speak to each other. There's a lot of synergy between the two, and I like kind of like taking those learnings, applying it or whatnot. But yeah, that was an example of like we're not trying to sell as much as we're trying to get you to like check it out at least, see if you want to, you know, support us, right? And it's been genuine. So like I think that's the same thing with music. Is like some people it's an attention game, and some people are playing that game really well. You know, there's a lot of little gimmicks and a lot of polarizing things you can do to get the attention. It happens in my genre all the time. You know, I see it and I'm like, that's a strategy. Like, you know, a made up relationship, and you know the PRs and it's behind it all, and like, you know, then there's like a fight in the club, and then the guy disses a song that does a diss song, and then like all of that is gonna bring attention to your profile, regardless of your talent or you know your music or whatever. So you know, I see all that shit and I'm like, you know, if you're gonna play the attention game, stay true to yourself. You know, stay authentic and don't go veer out too far.
Do you think there's like a reggaeton like Latam thing to do with that like music culture that is a bit more kind of like theatre to it? Like there's someone I know in the UK called Elijah who does a lot of like interesting takes on music, and he's a musician as well. And one of the ones that he's been pushing a lot is kind of this idea of bringing like the energy of wrestling back to
Yeah,
music again, right? Like basically like not the authenticity, the opposite, right? Like let's just bring the fantasy and the drama and the
the
story.
entertainment side of it.
Yeah, the entertainment. And you kind of have always been someone who's constantly like showing me and introducing me to stuff like that, whether it's like the Disney stuff or like the pop-ups and the different
Right.
do you think that's definitely something that's like baked into like the music culture?
I think it's always just, like, been a part of it, but I think being able to articulate it is different, and, like, now with socials, you have people doing breakdowns and, like, you're like, "Oh, I was thinking about that, I just didn't know, like, what it was or how to explain it to others." I'm seeing a lot of that stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, I was right, I was on the money there." Seeing a lot of that. Is it Elijah talking about the wrestling?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I remember I commented because Bad Bunny actually wrestled, like, he was actually with WWE for some time. So I'm like, he's literally doing the thing that you're talking about. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, I've studied it. I've seen him do it. So yeah, and I've seen other takes on it where it wasn't wrestling, but it was like, hey, if you're not getting any hate or critique, like you're probably not moving or like you're not doing the thing or something. I don't know, something like that. So there's some interesting things to it. Again, it's how far you want to play it, right? How far you want to commercialize, how far you want to do the mainstream thing or whatnot. Like just being aware of that, I think is also important. You know, just self awareness is key. I think too.
What music are you listening to at the moment? What's like making you excited about making music?
That's a good question. So when I'll be honest, when I'm creating, I'm not listening to much, like 100%. Right now, I've been having a little time off, so the J. Cole album just dropped. I've been listening to that. I was randomly listening to I've been listening to some electronic stuff just because like I've seen a lot of them kind of tapping into like with reggaeton producers.
Oh, sure,
So
yeah.
like Fortet and like, you know, I've seen Skrillex and they're like low key as co-writers or co-authors on the songs and been driving me to listen to them and like stuff like that.
Buying in the sauce
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
I'm kinda like, "Who
yeah,
made
yeah.
this?" And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, like, I've heard of this guy, you know, they're out here," and, but it really depends, man. I love albums, so, like, if I see an album, I'm pressing play. Singles, I'm kind of like, I'll wait for the album, you know. So I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe that's old school to me, but I get more inspiration from albums. Got like Friday when I dropped mine, like my other friend, he dropped his. He signed. He's much bigger. Like so, I'm like, damn. Like I kind of shared a story. I was like, I'm asked out on the playlist. Like I'm not getting playlists because there's like 4 albums that dropped that same day that I had no idea were dropping. Um, so but I'll go and listen because I prefer albums over just singles. So yeah, I've been all over the place to be honest. Like whatever finds me listening to. Plus, I got the family, right? Like, if I'm not in the
sure.
car alone, like,
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah, yeah.
like,
I
I'll
know
have
that
this,
one.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how it is.
Like, what are the things that like make up your world then, apart from being like a father? How do you? I mean, part of me is like my feeling from you, which is probably not like with the way that we all want the world to see things, is that you have quite like a healthy like balance.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
seem to like. You seem to like. This is purely just like my perception, right? That
Yeah.
you seem to have like time for experimenting, time for creating, and a way of building like a balanced kind of life. And I know we're always trying to get higher, especially when you're raising like a young family. Those goalposts quickly move.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but like, I guess, what does your world look like?
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, outside of being like a music artist, or how do these things fit together for you?
yeah, I think balance is key. I think for me, I've been doing it for a long time, right? And like a lot of people don't know, like, yeah, I'm an artist, but I'm also a producer, songwriter. I'm an engineer by trade. So it makes it a little easier that I can come up here and make a full song in within a few hours and mix it and master it over the next few days, right? So that time that would usually be a time sink for a lot of people or finding people to kind of collaborate on a track and getting it done and then it extends your time and stuff. So the fact that I'm able to come up and make music at a quicker pace. Plus, I like to just I'm very spontaneous, fluid. I believe in creating music like more improvised kind of way, and then kind of going in and producing and like taking your time and arranging and doing all that shit. So I think that helps. And I also like to make music in marathons. I think that's another thing. That's a hack where you could just make a ton of music in like 2 3 months, and then
Yeah,
the
I do.
next 2 to 3 months, you're essentially producing, collecting, curating, getting them done. So that opens up time, for me. And like, I've had the balance for a long time. So to be fair, anytime I talk to an artist, I'm like, "Hey, I do all of this other stuff, by the way." So that's why it may seem like it's flowing and it's a little easier for me because 'cause I've been doing it close to 10 years. So I can, like, create, put out, distribute, like, handle all that, reach out to whatever, like, I think that helps. And then with the family
Rhythm and the system.
yeah, and then with the family, I'm like, I'm forced to wake up early, I'm forced
Yeah, yeah.
like, those are, like, non-negotiables, right? So, I try to fit around. My partner helps me a lot. She's great, I'll tell her, like, "Hey, I gotta go upstairs, I'm doing my thing," like, inspiration hit or, like, I got a deadline or whatever. So, yeah, I have a lot of people that ask me, I don't know how to describe it at this point, like, it's just a balance, and I'm actually locked in, like, I don't really like I like going out, but lately when I'm locked in creatively, I don't like going out. I'm like partying, like all that stuff. I'm kind of like, nah, I'm good. And over the years, it's been like that. I always say like I'm just locked in for real. That helps.
Do you think that your relationship with like how much you can get out of your time has changed since having a family?
Yeah, yeah. Um, but man, I don't know. I think I've been lucky and like you know what helps is like when opportunities come and real things happen, people start understanding like it's real, it's serious. So it becomes a job in a way, even though I don't really treat it that way. Whenever I try to treat this like a job, it backfires completely.
You mean
If
the
I want
music or the family?
with the music,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
if I try to log hours, if I try to say I'm gonna start at 10 a.m. and finish by
Yeah.
2 p.m. and it doesn't work for me. Like, it just doesn't. I accepted it. I now just kind of flow whenever I can, And like even back in the day, man, I was juggling 2 to 3 gigs, part-time seasonal jobs where I had more flexibility than working one single kind of full-time job. That helped for a long time. Because like I can make my own schedule and decide if I want to go or not. So I was able to juggle making, creating, and also releasing my music at the time, and that helped me kind of grow, and I didn't leave my day job, so to speak. So there's been all of these moments throughout my career and my life that just all continued to like the pieces started connecting, right? And that's what I hope to keep continue doing. Um, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Do you think you can like you can foster that like natural curiosity? Like I sometimes I work with a lot of young musicians, and I don't like the old-fashioned way of looking at it is like hunger, right? But I don't think it's that simple anymore, especially when you have to learn. I mean, it depends on what you're doing, right? But I think like the stuff that we're doing involves maybe it's a producer thing, I think sometimes where you're just like more used to like working shit out, right?
Yeah,
Like whether that's like
figuring
how to find a hack for your time, whether that's like coding, whether that's like like I look back at today at some of like my accounting for last year because I was trying to like work out how to fund a project, and I noticed that like I had Runway in there, like a monthly subscription to Runway because at the time that was like the first time that I'd had something as a shortcut for editing. But it just reminded me like already like how far we've come in 3 years, right? Like in the
100%.
last year, I've been learning platforms every few weeks almost, right? That's what it
Right.
feels like.
That
Um,
that's a great point in
how do you
terms
keep
of
that
time.
up?
Yeah, like the time management, like the fact that I'm now. You know how they'll say like, "Oh, artists sign a deal to get the money so they can focus on the music or whatever," right? In
Yeah.
a way, the AI tools are kind of like making space and time for that. So maybe I'm funding them, but but it's giving me time and space to create. So I feel like, for example, for holidays, everyone's like, "Oh, it's holidays, you're gonna be super busy." Holidays were actually quiet for me. I was able to lock in and figure out what I wanted to do. That's when I really dived into vibe coding and like really created something, like not just kind of fiddled with it. I really created, a couple things. I was able to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with music this year. Like, so that time and that space, a lot of it I think was due to the tools, like it really did. So I think that's going to be helpful for someone like me that's already kind of on and locked in and kind of like pretty productive and makes things happen. I think a lot of those tools are gonna help over time, so I can focus on the thing. I don't want to be dealing with emails and agreements and all that stuff. Like even for this rollout, man, I used AI for like, for example, transcribing lyrics for all 14 songs. I didn't have to sit there and
Um,
type it all out because
yeah,
again,
yeah.
I make music really spontaneous. So I'm not writing time, it's all off the top. So like that saved me time. The agreements, the splits to the producers and the collaborators, I used AI for that. So I was able to send stuff out quickly, get it signed, get it back. Everyone's taken care of. Just all those things that used to eat up weeks or months because I would procrastinate too, because it's like I don't want to do it. Now it's like, okay, I can get it done, get it out of the way, so I can go back to the rollout. So like there's all these little things that for me are gonna help make time, make space, accelerate certain things so I can focus on what I really want to do.
I mean, that's the challenge, right? Isn't it? That's what it should be doing, right? There's all this kind of jokes about like we thought it was going to save us time, but I think like it just took us a while to work out where the best uses were, right? And I don't think you can just do that quickly. I think the problem is, right, is that you look at like shortcuts and takes on socials and stuff, and you're like, I'm going to use it for that. But
Right.
really, you kind of have to like try loads of stuff out, and you're really like, okay, I know if I'm going to approach a brand that I can kind of get through that first like fear of writing that email, and then I
Mhm.
can rewrite it in my own words, or like you say, like contracts or like splits.
Yep.
And for me, there's like even I'm dyslexic, right? But I say to my students at the moment, even if I'm doing like budgeting and stuff, right? Like I can just throw that in like a scattergun way, right? Either even by talking or just by like in notes. Well, I don't have to like load up Excel and like make the columns and just like those little things, right? I think like if that's not your thing, they can take a long time. At least they
Right.
can for me. And now I can kind of cut some of those corners out of my life and ideally not fill it with learning more AI tools. But
Right.
sometimes
Yeah,
sometimes
I think
I'm
there just like you said, like it's a bubble as well. So when I'm on X and I'm seeing the next thing, I'm like, no, no, I'm done. Like, like I
yeah,
don't.
but I can't go back on X at the moment, man, because I kept going and it was just like there was like a new stuff and I was like, "Do you know what? The stack I've got right now is quite good for where I'm at,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And I think like the hard thing about those tools is what's interesting. Like I think like noticed recently is I keep seeing these kind of like Framer style ones where it's like 10 incredible websites built on Framer. And I see them and my brain is like, they're incredible. I need to learn how to do this. I want something that looks that good. But like the reality is, right, is those people, this is what's interesting to me. Those people who have built those interesting sites using those coding tools don't usually they're not usually trying to execute a vision they have in their mind that comes from like an artistic place, right? It doesn't come from like a curated creative place, right? What they're doing is like make an app that does this
Hmm.
and make it look futuristic and fresh, right? And what comes out, as long as it looks like fancy and cool, is like enough. Well, I think like someone like me and maybe you is like when you've got a picture in your head of what it needs to be like and how it fits with your identity and your story, like that's the hard bit, right? Like anyone can turn it on and be like, I want to make a dating app for dogs
Right.
and I want it to look like cartoon style drawings, right? And it will make it. But if that's not like, you don't have like a vision for what that is and the output's fine, right? So I think like the hack at the moment for me of like not needing to go that much deeper is that I'm just trying to execute on ideas that I have in my head.
Right.
And I'm playing with like how they can be made. Like sometimes I just make a thing to see if it can be made. Um, I don't know how you feel about like, I think you kind of hinted at it, which is like the central place of like story and artistic vision still has like value when we're using these tools. And someone like you is like the motivation is the artistic vision that you have and like executing on ideas that you have rather than making things for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. Like I found myself, I said, okay, if I'm going to use these tools to build like the vibe coding stuff and I want to build an app or I want to build something, I was like, what are the things I already had on my list that I really wanted to build? And I started there and I'm like, okay, like this is where I need to stay because otherwise I'll go down that rabbit hole of like, let me see if, is this possible? And then I'll do that. And then I'm juggling a bunch of things at once. I don't think that's really smart, productive. I don't think it's going to get me to that next phase or chapter in my life or in my career. So I tend to take a step back and say, is this thing going to help me progress or is it going to help with my vision? Because I think I said it in one of the chats. I was kind of like, I'm not chasing the app store right now. Like, I don't want to do that. Right. At that point, I'm kind of putting everything off to the side in order to make that thing happen. And a lot of people won't say that, publicly and on X, they won't say like, oh, this is just a demo. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, I built the dog dating app thing and
Yeah,
get a bunch of
yeah.
impressions and likes and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
So, I'm seeing all that and I'm like, okay, but I kind of want to build some useful stuff for me. Like, I don't want to like, because again, what if there's a bait and switch to like the streaming platforms when they were 7.99 a month, just like the AI tools. And then, fast forward in a few years and you're like racking up like,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, so I'm like, if I'm going to take advantage of these tools, let me build some useful stuff and then I'll experiment and play here and there. But again, I don't wanna juggle so many projects because, like, it happened the other day, I opened up a project and I was like, "What did I like, what did I do here? Like, where's the data? Is it on Superbase or whatever?" And, like, it wasn't, I didn't do anything like that. So I was like, "Okay, I gotta be cautious of, like, the things that I'm building."
Because
But
you're trying
yeah,
to make stuff. Because you're trying to make stuff that is like physically like I wish there were, you're like I wish there was a thing that did this for me, and you're trying to make it, but also you're just making like artistic experiments. Is that
yes.
like what you're doing? You've
Yep.
got like a both, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
balancing both for sure. Like, I
So
did
you are.
something really admin type of thing that I
Mhm.
still, like, think it's cool and I really wanted it. So I'm building that out, and then, like, I mentioned earlier, like, the character IP thing, and I was like, "Oh, it'd be sick to finally build, like, the character IP platform or the home of it." So I started building that, and that's a much more, like, creative thing where I was really locked in and I was really in there in the zone creating. So I've been kind of juggling those 2 ideas of, like, more, I guess, business, administrative, and then one that's more creative, more inspirational or something. So, like, that's how I've been doing it. It works
What's
for
the
me.
purpose of these things? Like how much? Like I think like for people who are not doing this stuff, they're like, why are you doing this? But um, they don't need to be big. They don't need to be huge. Like why? Why? Why is a big question, but yeah, why?
It's a
Why,
great
like,
question.
why spend does it feel like a creative output for you yet? Like, how does it fit into your identity as a creative?
Yeah, I think like well, here's the funny thing. When I was building that character IP platform, originally it was a space for me, like a site for me that kind of shared everything. And then I was like, I don't need another site for me for more people to like to throw people like fragment it out more and go here, visit here, do I was like, "Nah." And then I was like, "Oh, but this is closer to this character IP thing I wanna do." So I converted and flipped the entire thing. So, like, I think that was a smart pivot for me to say, if I really wanna do it, why am I not building the thing out? So, I did that, because I really wanted a space for it. So now I don't have to create something from scratch. It was semi-built. Nah, there's still a lot of work left to it, but yeah, that, when I was building, like I'm building, like, this catalog management thing, and it kept evolving, and I kept adding to it, but I kept taking a step back. I'm like, "'Kay, where else could I do this?" And then the more I found that I can't really do this anywhere else, then that kinda motivated me to continue building it. And so, like, yeah, there are some distributors that offer, some of the things that I was building, but then I'm kind of living on in their world. I'm in
Yeah,
their
like what happens if you move distributor? I've just had that where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I've gotta go back to the old one to look at the accounting." And
Exactly.
obviously and then the mad thing is you've still got money coming in different places, right? You've got, like, a distributor account that's got, like, I don't know, right? I've got, like, 4, right? I've got one that's still got, like, pennies coming in, right? Because they're being collected later on, and I've got another one where I've got, like, more, and then I've got a new one that I'm trying to focus in on. Um, and it's hard to keep track of all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Like
Same idea. That's why I was like, okay, if I'm gonna build stuff, I need to make sure it makes sense, that it fits into the things that I'm doing, before I go out there and try to do something completely different. Because once you do that, you kinda have to shift priorities and your vision, and, like, I don't wanna do that right now. You know?
how do you deal with, like, platforms? Do you have, like, platforms for different things? Because one of the things with all this stuff is, like, it feels like there's so much going on, right? But do you like, you still have quite, like, high quality content on, like, Instagram and YouTube, but you're not on that kind of, like, 4 posts a day you're not a 4 post a day kind of a guy, right?
Nah, I'm not. I've been tempted. I'm like, "Would this work?" Nah, but I kinda like spacing stuff out throughout the week. I don't know. It makes more sense to me. I also feel like if I was offering a service or a product or something different, more tangible, more sign up to the course thing or something like that, that's where it kinda makes more sense. For music, I know people are doing this, but also I kind of, like, accept my truth, my reality. I'm like, I can only post so much because I only have so much going on, right? Now if I was out, like, for example, I got a couple shows lined up later on in the year, but not right now. But if I
Mhm.
did more content or more things I can post alongside my releases or the things that I'm building or whatnot,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, I've been liking kind of spreading things out throughout the week, and it's a little more doable, more reasonable. I don't want to force it. I do love this idea of rehashing stuff. That's cool to me. That can add to the post amount. But I would still approach it in a way where it makes sense. It's not so random. Just because people ask me, like, they want to know, they want more stories from me, for example, stories of things that happened maybe a year or two ago. So, like, that's a good
Like,
piece of
what do you
content.
mean, like, people, like friends, family,
Like
listeners,
fans or
fans?
people
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, acquaintances.
I always just find it really interesting that you have, like, you've got quite a lot of followers and stuff, but what you definitely have is, like, a lot of engagement, right? Like, you definitely have, like, a group of people around you, fans, listeners, whatever they are, that are, like, leaning in, right? Like, you've got, like, a relationship with them where, like you said, like, they're asking for things, right? I think that's quite where I work in, like, electronic music, right? And I was, like, checking out some of the Discords, and it's just not a thing, but I think maybe there's also, like, maybe there's not as much expectation for it to be a thing, right? It's kind of like a lean back genre where even, like, if you look at the content now, it's just mainly just people DJing, right? Like, it's like drops. And obviously, if you're smaller down, you're in your bedroom, like, filming in some kind of interesting way. But there's definitely, like, maybe I'm seeing it a bit more, but there's just definitely not as much, there's not as much feeling that that should be part of what you do.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
Like, well, I think if you're like, a vocal artist, there's definitely like a lot more expectation that you were like, I don't know, like talking to people, listening to people, building conversations.
Yeah, the whole, like, personality, they wanna see your personality content and, like,
Yeah,
and, like, when it gets broken down and stripped down like that, I'm kinda like, "Ah, am I gonna fake it? Am I gonna make it real?" Like, there's all that pressure to,
but it's real for you in those like closed spaces. That's
right,
where you
right.
do it. That's where it's real for you, right?
Yeah, because it's interesting because, like, the expectation is do like a piece of content where you're showing yourself recording the song or
Hmm.
producing it. But no one's ever asked me for that. So I'm like, if I do that, I want to do it because I wanted to. I never had
Uh-huh.
anyone ask me. But I'm having people ask me like, how did that come about? Like, what's the story behind that? So I'm
And
like,
then
okay,
you make it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's good feedback, right? So yeah, or people have asked me like, how do you decide on sequencing the like the track list? Like, how do you pick your songs? Like, so that's cool. That's interesting. Like, it didn't come from GPT. Like, throwing random
But
ideas.
people dream of that. I think like that's something that's just underrated, right? I think like even like now being asked that question is
Right.
like a dream for an
Yeah,
artist,
that's
right? Like
fine.
I think
And I
that's
love
so
that.
rare, right? Like I think if you got a DM of someone who cared enough about your work to be like, wow, that's amazing. Like I wonder, curious enough to be like, why did you decide to put it in that order?
Right.
That's so
Yeah.
rare.
Love that. Yeah. Cause I always, I think I did a video on it and it was like, oh, all of my projects, like I'll start the intro more inspirational, motivational, and then the outro is more like dark, like kind of like I'm coming for it, like more hungry, ambitious type, So like I've made that a theme across my projects and I shared that and they're like, oh, okay, I never noticed that. What's gonna happen? They're gonna go back and
Mm.
listen and see like,
Yeah.
oh, dang, he did that on the last project too. It's just different music, different sounds or whatnot. So yeah, I've been into that lately, just asking people like, "What do you actually wanna see from me?" Or like, maybe I can ask you, "What's that one article that you wanna read from me?" Right? I'm over here just throwing shit out, but you might
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
"Hey, actually make one, I don't know, based on that," right? Or something, like your musical taste, I don't know. So I'll be like, "Oh, okay, that'll motivate me," right? So there's things like that I think about, and I'm seeing a lot of, but again, going back to it, it's like what works. Like if what works is you DJing in front of the camera and doing the drop,
Yeah, yeah, you do your thing, right? Yeah.
oh, boiler room style, and it's like 20 of
Yeah,
your
yeah.
friends around you, and that brings up, like, I guess, so I think it's interesting, like, to see all these different formats and content and stuff, and, like, I don't know, it's cool, but I can see how some people are like, "Oh, that takes away from it," and this and that. But I'm like, "Man, if it's connecting with people, like, isn't that the
That's all
goal?"
that matters, right? Yeah.
You already
What,
got something
go
out
on.
of it.
As long as you get something out of it as well as a creator, yeah.
Right, yeah.
What, because we're coming up to the hour and we're just descending into hanging out with each other, which is cool, but maybe we can do that. We can do that off there. Um, what do you think? I think like if you're speaking to someone who is any age, right? I guess like any age. I was going to say an age thing, but I don't think it's really relevant anymore. What do
Same.
you think like the future of like a happy creative career is? Like, I
Mm,
don't think the answer for everyone, but like when you think of that, like what does that look like for you? What's a
man.
realistic version of that look like for you?
Yeah, I like how you said the age thing because I feel like age is a cage. I read that somewhere and stuck. But, yeah, I think creatives it's interesting, right? Like, we're seeing this whole thing happening with AI, and people are talking about displacement, and it's almost like the people that unfortunately are being displaced are people that are kinda building the thing, but then when you look at, like, working class people, they're not the ones getting displaced, and the theory was 10 years ago, the technician and the engineer and the guy working at the store was gonna be replaced by a robot or something, but it's actually the software people, right? And then in the same light, the point that I'm trying to make is same thing for creatives. There was this time, and it's still happening, and we don't know where it's gonna go. People are like, "Oh, creatives are gonna be displaced and replaced by, the generative stuff." And it's kind of like, wait, like now I'm kind of accelerating my thing because of the tools. Like I have an opportunity to output more work and maybe balance a gig or a full-time job because now I don't have to, like we talked earlier, worry about all this boring administrative technical things. I can create more. I can potentially maybe distribute and release more works. I think finding fulfillment is key when you're doing things. Even to this day, I get a lot of people tell me your music is different in comparison to like in my genre, right? Whether it's the newer guys or the older guys, the veterans or whatever. Um, and they think it's intent. I don't, it's not intentional. It's just a music that I create. I can make music like they make it on the playlist. I can literally before every session listen to the biggest reggaeton playlist on Spotify, which is like I think the third biggest playlist in general and make a song similar within that world, right? And I can do that 100 times and blow it up or whatever. But I think if what you're doing is authentic, it's real, you're being fulfilled, you're able to balance. a gig and that if you have to for some time being. Be open, be receptive, collaborate, connect, talk to people, don't isolate. All these tools cause us to isolate a bit. Get out there. You never know who's gonna open a door for you, who's gonna connect you with someone. Things start kind of moving, things start aligning, compound. I believe in the creative compound effect when it comes to creation, but when it comes to, let's call it the business side of it, right? Like you create opportunities and you attract great energy, you attract people that want to support or help or be a part of the thing that you're building. Going back to the sauces, I've had people reach out and say, I want to help you, don't charge me. And these are talented people, man, like dope photographers, dope videographers, but they wanna be a part of it because 'cause they're seeing something unique, they're seeing something interesting. They like the branding or the product or whatever. Yeah, find those people, you never know, like, you reach out to people or they might reach out to you. If you're building that thing and you're attracting that energy, I think that's underrated in my opinion. I don't know what it's gonna look like in 5, 10 years. I'll also be honest and I'll say I've been doing it for 10. So, like, heed my advice, like, grain of
But
salt.
you're building in public. I think that's one of the things that even I'm still like, oh, like no one's gonna join the journey unless you're sharing the journey, right?
For sure, for sure. You know, I never thought about it as me building in public. I really thought like you just kind of do the thing and put it out. And like again, going back to the sauces, like it was a challenge to get it up and going. And I wasn't able to share part of the process and the journey because it's like, wow, I'm caught up. I'm trying to make this thing happen. So now that I put it out, maybe now I can, right? But I wouldn't fall to that pressure either so early on. Maybe wait to like put the thing out and then go ahead and tell people, like, how hard it was or, like, the challenges you're facing or whatnot, like, it's never too late, keep telling the story.
Do you have like an organizational stack? Like, are you a person are you using Notion or, what's some of just like the practical stuff that you're doing to keep track of all this stuff? Or do you have any? Are you just like, is it your brain? You're just like going,
I'll give you a few, so definitely Google Docs, I use
mhm.
Docs. Text edit is a monster. My text edits are insane, I had to kinda change over to, like, to Google Docs, right? Because like, sometimes I'll delete stuff or, like, computer will crash or whatever, but I use Docs. I was using the Pitch app. But I'm not using it to make decks, like, I'll literally use it as a mood board or as a vision board or so, yeah, I guess I was creating certain decks and things like that, but they were more for me, kind of visualizing things, seeing things. Even, like, I'll go on Substack, and I have a lot of drafts of ideas and things. Google Keeps, I have a lot of crap in there, and then I forget you can log in through the desktop. So, like, you can, like, grab stuff from there and throw it into Google Docs. I'm a pacer, I love going for walks. Quiet time, then I can really get everything going. I talk to myself a lot. All like those little things that no one talks about, like that's the kind of shit that helps me progress. Like that's where the epiphanies come in. And I'm like, oh, I need to do this thing because otherwise nothing's gonna happen. Like, and then you're like, that's so simple, but sometimes it is that simple. I don't know.
Thank you, man. Okay, thanks so much. Like, there was so much in there. I'm like, when I'm watching this, I'm like, it's funny how you like to distill like a conversation into like useful stuff sometimes. It's interesting because part of me
Yeah.
is like,
I find it
I
useful.
want to take these conversations and I want to like pull stuff from them that is useful, right? Like it's inspiring, it's useful, like to almost like recap and articulating that that you are not just making music, you're not just producing your own music, you're like designing artwork,
Right, right.
you're building worlds like visually, right? You're building a site where people can explore your music and you're like thinking about what is built out of that, but you're building your world in but your life is another world, right? Where like in your artist project, you decide like the music, you as an artist at the center, and then you've got these like stems, or you've got like remixes, or you've got lyrics, or you've got like merch, or you've got like products. But like outside of that, then you've got like you, and you've got like your music, and you've got your hot sauce, and you've got your life, and you're building apps. Yeah, yeah, and you're building apps, like worlds within worlds, right? Where there's multiple things happening, and that's really interesting to me because like it's very unique to you, right? Like, and I think that that's a really interesting thing. It's like we're breaking free of this idea of like there being a way to make, not just a way to be a creator, right? Like your creative energy as a producer is going into like coding and design, not just in like physical products, tasting products, right? But like branding, but also like functionality, right? Like you're taking what you're learning from the complicated part of your life and you're then being like, I can make this thing for myself to make this work better, right? So it's like we're just like building on so many levels. And then at the back of all of that is like this kind of like matrix of money, right? We never like to talk about, right? But it's like, you know, like money and time,
Hmm.
right? Like where, like how that money and time thing fits together is kind of like the roots, right? Which is like that you're also constantly shuffling and trying to work out, right? Where you're like, you know,
Yeah,
whether
100.
that's like a sync or like a job or like a consultancy fee or a mix fee or
Trying to raise
streaming.
funds for the
Right,
thing.
yeah, we've got like all these things going, and it's just becoming this really like complex ecosystem of all these different things feeding each other in ways you don't expect. Sometimes the content feeds a bit of the ecosystem you don't expect it to, right? Or like it's not as easy just to be like, yeah, I'm going to make music and then people are going to see it and it's going to go and stream it and the streaming money is going to come back and I'm going to pay for more content. Now there's just like there's so many layers, um, like an ecosystem, a network, or you know, like how do you describe it, right? It's not even. We used to have this kind of idea of like it's like a flow chart,
Right,
right? Which is like a circle, right, with like 4 points on it. And
right.
now, you know, the same with the tools, like what we were talking about. Like this morning I was using Cursor to make changes to code, and then I'm using like ChatGPT to help edit something, and I'm using Claude to help design something, and
Hmm.
I'm taking files from Claude and putting them in Figma
Right.
and then we're taking like Figma exports and putting them into Cursor and like,
Making
you
them.
know, like it's just,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And then I'm using Notion to try and keep track of all this stuff. And then I'm doing a spreadsheet in Excel. And I'm trying to get like Claude installed into Excel so I can edit directly. And it's just like, that was just my morning, right?
yeah,
Let
exactly.
alone, right? Yeah, it's
And
mad.
tomorrow, like the next thing is gonna come out that does all that for you, and then you don't know if to jump ship yet because you don't know if
That's
it's
what people keep saying, right? Like in every level you get to, then people are like, oh, soon there's going to be like an agent that does that for you, right? And then it's just like and I guess like this is the theory, right? This is what ends up with us not working, is that people have played out this scenario for so long that that's where there's people who are like, you know, like that. Didn't want to say his name. People who are just like, the future is of, you know, people not working, right? Like some kind of like universal benefits of some kind, but
right. You're just
what we're
creating.
seeing,
You're
yeah, but what we're seeing is we just have to do more work, right? Like I'm seeing it in music, but I'm seeing it in like teaching is that people aren't getting fired. They're just like their workload's quadrupling,
right.
right? And when they're like, oh, the output isn't as good as if I just do this myself, they don't care, right? Because they're like, no, we've built an agent for that. It will write it all for you. And you're like, yeah, but it doesn't really get the nuances of like how to develop an artist or like how to create like branding identities. And they're just doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's just like, just, you know, we design the thing, it does the thing in 10 minutes. And no, that doesn't mean you're going to get to go and do reading and research. What that
Right.
means is like, now I've got another task for you to do, right? Yeah,
It's
which is,
going.
yeah, that's the
It,
trouble, I guess, with all of it. I guess with trouble with content, it's trouble with fragmentation
right.
is that like now it's just like, you know, we posting 4 times a day, right? It's an advert. Don't overthink it. Don't put love into it. Don't
Right.
spend time on it. It doesn't have to look good. Doesn't have to do anything. Don't think. Just copy a post that works 4 times a day,
Useless.
right?
Like you don't even need to
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah. Just or yeah, or just, you know, it's just, you know, I think like the how do I would just say it without swearing, but like the chaos, I mean psychological chaos of takes of like, you know, like of like this like world that we now are just like consuming takes and the content has to be a take and it's got a hook that it just creates this like psychological like insecurities, you know, around like everything, you know, like everything is serving you an answer to something you didn't know you needed an answer to, right? Or like telling you how to fix something. And you end up just not spending the time working it out yourself, right? Because you're like, I'm going to try that one,
Even
try that one, try that one.
so simple, but like even like uploading a photo or an image, and you're expected to write like an entire thing. And I'm like, why can't I just put up the picture? Just this one. Like, I just want to put it up and say, like, how's everyone doing? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
but
the
I think that's coming back, and I am seeing like more evidence of that coming back. I think like, but everything always eats itself, right? But like carousels coming back on Instagram, and like I think like if it definitely only really works if you're a big artist, right? But you see more big artists just doing like dumps, right? And I think maybe that works because there's an appetite for that. But yeah,
which
The
is cool.
cycle of
You
posts.
motivated me to do carousels, by the way, and, like, I have, like now I have an entire list of shit I have to, like, carousel
Well,
out.
people are reading there, right? Like, I don't write a lot of stuff that your average person wants to read, but like, I find myself reading, right? Like, I find myself reading people's
Sure.
newsletters on their carousel,
You just never
and part
know.
of me's like, "Oh, what am I doing? I need to go and like sign up. I can't do this." But
Right.
it's just where we drop in, right? I think like one of the things that someone was putting to me the other day was that there is a whole new generation of kids that are going to be banned from social media till they're 16. And they're gonna be doing something else, right? They're
Yeah,
gonna be gaming.
right.
And that's at the moment, that looks like it's gonna be gaming, and they're gonna look at Instagram, probably even TikTok, like we look at Facebook, right? As kind of like something for old people, right? We don't know what their thing is gonna look like, but
Yeah,
there is already people, especially like in major labels, strategizing about like, what does that look like? How do we rethink marketing altogether so that discovery, consumption for music and culture is all happening in games? And that's a whole other podcast. Whole 'nother podcast, yeah. I'd love to end on, you. What's next? And where can people check you out?
man, truly, I feel like this year for me is about it's like a leap of faith year, so it's about putting out more music than ever, not for the sake of it, but because it's the thing that I wanna do. I wanna showcase to the world, just everything I'm capable of doing. That's kind of the vibe I'm on, the feeling that I'm on. I wanna continue telling the story, sharing the purpose, finding purpose, continue building, creating, inspiring, motivating people. I think, like, putting out the album, I got texts of people like, "Man, you really, like you're so persistent, you motivated me to, like, keep trying at my thing," right? So I'm like, that's fulfilling, it's not a sale, it's not a stream, it's none of that, it's just a real comment from a real person. I think that's big, so yeah, that's what I'm on. I'm gonna continue putting out projects, doing cool shit, continuing to build, try to connect it all, make it make sense. And yeah, that's me on the creative side, and yeah, you can find me at Excelencia La X on pretty much every platform, to be honest. If you wanna see Maravilla City, it's Maravilla.city. If not on socials, you'll find a link and stuff like that. And yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Ah, amazing, man. You inspire me all the time,
Same,
genuinely. So like, I'm glad we met. I've got crypto to thank for a few relationships in my life
right?
that have been like,
What is it? It's
um,
all the friends you meet along the way.
I mean, it is. Yeah, yeah. Genuinely is, right? It's just interesting what brings different people together from different worlds, how you find your people. I'm interested in that at the moment. But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming.
For sure. Thank you.